we then got to the point where let's see what I want to say. We decided to build a scanner itself, an operating scanner. All these other tests were done without the scanner, but with all the mechanical configurations. Now, with the scanner itself, we started, of course, started the next phase to the project, and the next phase to the project was number one, of course, to build a scanner to get its specifications. And then we had to start worrying about, well, you know, how is this all going to work in the end of a check stand, and you know, is the slot still wide enough, and just what are the environmental factors? Our first attempt at doing some scanning, doing some physical scanning, was to take the specifications for the Bullseye to some printer. Printer was well known as the Avery Label Company, and with the Avery Label Company, we worked closely with them to define what is this Bullseye symbol going to require. Can you print these in mass scale? Can it be done reliably, or are going to have all kinds of printing problems? And then after that, we started to attach the self-adhesive the Bullseye symbols to the product, and lo and behold, they scanned very well. Now, we also had another concern, though.
You were in the test store by then, or were you scanning in your lab?
We were scanning in the laboratory.
Okay, sorry.
Now, scanning with the laboratory, we decided to figure out, well, you know, we can't, it was very labor intensive to have to be able to attach one of these bullseyes to every single product in the store. We had to find another way to create the bullseye that could also be read. RCA, fortunately, at the time, was also had a close association. In fact, it was one of their subsidiaries. I believe it's Banquet Foods. We had a good ally there. And Banquet Foods actually started to make some sample symbols on on some of their TV dinner products, not for sale, but just to do some testing. We also had another thing that we had to do. Now, if we could print on a Banquet product, then we started to go out and get some other people convinced, hey, give us some samples, kind of thing. In addition to giving us the samples kind of thing, we also said, well, you know, these people are also going to want coupons. Now, are these coupons going to work if they're printed in newspapers and somebody clips them out of newspapers? Sure enough, we convinced, and we had a consultant working with us, we convinced them to talk to the Daily News in New York, I believe, and they ended up in, believe it or not, the Vietnam era in the early 70s, I believe, somewhere around that time, late 60s, early 70s, to print some sample bullseyes as part of a newspaper. Not just as a sample, but just individual copies. The public, I don't think ever had a copy with a bullseye in it. But it gave us some samples of what, you know, what the Bullseye is going to look like if we use those high-speed presses and poor paper, really.
So these were on the high-speed presses.
These are on the high-speed presses. They're actually part of the process. They stuck in a few printing plates, I guess. I'm not sure exactly how newspapers work, but these were made in a regular press. So we had that as a possibility. Now, the next question that came up was, we can't depend on all these sources, because what's going to happen to all the grocery, all the products that don't have labels, for instance, don't come in, and we can't. They really, maybe we could, but maybe these were just a small sampling of things we would like to sell in the supermarket. Or in addition to that, what do you do about all the meat and produce symbols that we had to label, so that everything had to be labeled with the Bullseye. So we started experimenting with what we call the space pen, made by, it was a pen, a ballpoint pen, made by the Fisher Company, and Fisher Pen Company, and it was designed so that you could write upside down. In other words, you can take the pen and write on the ceiling. It would work,
or the bottom of a package.
Or the bottom of a package, or anything else. But here, of course, we worried about doing it on the bottom of the package, and we borrowed the system, not borrowed the system, but we borrowed the pen cartridges and designed a system along with the automatic weighing equipment that I believe was Hobart. And we tied that in with, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of the game now, but we could, this was another way of producing a symbol on the spot in the store. You could apply individual labels and what have you.
Now, that label, first of all, did you have that before you got to the store, or was that invented to go with the store?
I believe that was done before the store.
Okay.
I could look it up.
No, just what you think?
Well, I could look it up because I could tell by the number of digits in the Bullseye.
I'm thinking, how was the data encoded in there? Was there a price in the label, or a weight that got multiplied out by the store computer, or what? Because every package of hamburger is different.
So I believe that the coding, and I wasn't too familiar with the coding, but I think they were, what do you call it, SKUs, were encoded into the grocery part of the code, the pre-printed code.
Okay.
Used SKUs that were attached to the labels. Now, the other part of the symbols that we would have to get into would be the symbols that were attached to the meat and produce, and they had different coding, but offhand, it's been a few years, I can't...
Okay. But it said, this is meat and produce, so look for the something somewhere else.
I believe, well, see, though, what you had to do with that, with things like the meat and the produce, you couldn't rely on a computer to create, to have stored information for that particular item. You had to create it right at the time that the product is weighed,
right,
and that attached, and that provided the computer would recognize that as a meat and produce kind of Bullseye and handle it in a different way than SKUs.
Okay.